Now it's time for the greatest segment in all of sports media. Game balls and jock straps.
I love that. I love that segment intro.
We may need to speed up the voice a little.
A little bit, but I'll be honest with you, it makes me giggle every
It's
time.
hilarious. Yeah, it's really funny. Okay. Game balls and jock straps. If you're new here and you can't figure out what it is from context, our game balls are the players who we think performed really well. Our jock straps are the players who we think did not. Josh, let's do ours first, and then we'll talk about because Keith and Steve both did pick them. They weren't originally supposed to be out for this show. So why don't you start? We'll start with the game balls because that's there's less pickings there.
Yeah, it was hard. I'm going to be completely honest with all of our viewers and listeners and yourself, sir. But it was very difficult to pick a game ball for anyone this week. And I looking through rewatching the games and evaluating the play of kind of key positions and watching it through the lens of somebody that likes and loves football and the X's and O's, I really narrowed it down to two players. It was Achane or Brooks at linebacker. And I went with Achane just because Achane is my game ball. And I chose him because his impact is unequivocal. Week in and week out, he didn't rush for, I think he only had like 28 yards rushing or something like that. But he had 8 receptions for 40 or 50 yards. I can't remember what it was in the passing game and a touchdown. And his impact on the game, week in and week out, is just, it's the best on the team. The only player I think that gives him a run for his money is our favorite tight end, Njoku. And so I just think that where he didn't have his best performance, we got away from the run. I think we only rushed it 8 times the whole game. I think 9 times the whole game. Not much.
I see 14, but Tua was 2 of those. So let's say 12.
Okay, 12. Might as well be 8, right?
Might as well. Yeah.
And so I think, it limited his exposure in the run game. But in the pass game, he was productive. He was our second leading receiver, which is another thing that we can talk about. But yeah, he's my game ball.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, this even on a day where he doesn't have a huge performance. I mean, 8 for 56 for the air. That's pretty good.
And a tud.
Yeah, and a tutty. But he's just consistently just amazing on the field. He is lightning in a bottle. Every time he touches the ball, there's that opportunity for him to just break one.
Yeah, and my favorite thing about his game, I think, this year over last year is you can tell he's worked on his patience, which I think is a real big indicator on the success and the skill of a running back. It's not always about speed or power. And you look at the really great running backs and the ones today in this league currently that are good and great and really help propel their teams. They all have patience. They don't hit the hole at 1,000 miles an hour. They wait until they help set their blocks up, and then they hit the hole at 1,000 miles an hour. And he's getting so much better at that. Whereas last year he was kind of see it and hit it. Now he's okay. I'm gonna let my block develop. I'm going to let the second tier of blocking develop, and then I'm going to turn the jets on and run for 40 or run for 10 or run for 15 or run for 50. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, last year he looked like a rookie who was just trying to use his speed and realized that, well, everybody's fast. So his second year, he's definitely turned more of a strategy.
Yep.
So I went with everybody's favorite tight end. I went with Jonnu because I can't think of a single offensive player who has been more impactful for this team over the past 4 games, let alone this game. Just another absolutely impeccable performance. 10 of 11 targets, 113 yards. Didn't actually find the end zone this time, but oh my God, every time he looked up, he had the ball in his hand. So it's such a good addition.
It really is, and he's very underrated in the blocking game too. He is touted as a kind of a bigger wide receiver, if you will, at the tight end position. But I'll tell you what, our tight end coach and that kind of group have turned him into a really good blocker. I mean, he laid some wood on a couple guys in this game, and it was one of the very few silver linings to this whole game was that Jonnu, man, he's a well-rounded player, and it makes it even more sweet because he was a very high-priced free agent for our Patriots. right? In our division for the Patriots in our division, and
Yep.
he was not good at all for them.
It wasn't, no.
Not good whatsoever.
Which was
And
crazy coming off the Falcons where he was fantastic.
yeah, exactly. And
yeah.
when we get him, all of my Patriots friends are like, "Oh, good luck. Yeah, hope you can do something because he did nothing for us, and he turns into our best offensive player." So it's.
I mean, that's exactly why I think the strategy that True Fin fan. Thank you for joining us again, my friend. But the
Yes.
strategy that you bring up every week is not easy. There's teams all across the NFL trying to get 2 tight ends that are really good. The Patriots have been trying since they had Gronk and Hernandez. It's not easy. It's one of the hardest things to do. Mike Gesicki, don't bring up Mike Gesicki. Oh, my goodness gracious. We are not Gesicki fans. You're bringing up the wrong person here, my friend.
Sorry, buddy.
Stonehands Gesicki.
No, I love 9 of your 10 takes, True Fin, but that one, not it, buddy. Respectfully, of course, respectfully.
Yeah, no, I love his takes because they're so different than ours. And I'm sure Keith and Steve are usually more closely on the same page there. Keith, by the way, had Zach Sealer as the game ball. Right. Amazing.
Solid.
Right?
Just steady, consistent, just
losing Sealer for those 2 games was so painful. Like you saw it. Like that dude is the middle of our line. It's crazy.
And he also happens to be like one of my favorite players in the league just because he's fun, he's quiet, he's the anti-Tyreek Hill. Yeah. If that makes sense, you know.
He's amazing though, because when he is pumped up, he's just like he's out there, man.
Yeah.
He's out there. Amazingly, I want to talk about Steve's game ball versus Keith's
Jock Strap.
Jock Strap.
Yeah, I was excited about when they both sent me their picks. I was like, oh, this is gonna be good.
I'm surprised that he's in the Jock Strap category, if I'm being honest. And now I know I'm to break the not bury the lead. It's Tua. I thought Tua had a great game. Not his fault that he got sacked 5 times.
Well, and that's a lie. I disagree with you there.
Some of them were. Yeah. Some of them were. You're right. Yeah. I don't like this little thing he's doing where he does like this little scoot in the pocket and turns in circles 4 times. Like, what, you're trying to make yourself dizzy? What are you doing?
No. Nope. And I'll tell you why I was agreeing with Keith with putting Tua in the Jock Strap. Now, statistically, you look at his stats, you're like, oh, he had a pretty damn good game, right? 2 tuds. They have a pick.
365. No picks.
No picks, right? Yeah. Threw it like 40 something times, over 70 completion. Fine. Had a decent game. Yeah. But when you dig into it, Tua's lack of recognition of when to throw the ball away and just live to play another game instead of taking an 8-yard sack because you're trying. It's horrible. It's horrible. Now, I'm a Tua guy. I do believe that Tua is a franchise type quarterback. I'm not saying he's a top 5 quarterback in this league, but you don't need a top 5 quarterback in this league. If you have one, better for you, but you don't need one to win a Super Bowl. But I'll tell you what, it's getting real frustrating seeing him just try to do too much, right? Yeah. And you see his motor, you can just see his gears are like, oh, if I go left or right, and oh God, there's somebody in front of me, I got to back up. And it's just, you just either fall down like Tom Brady used to do.
Yeah.
And, live to fight another day, or throw the ball 70 yards out of bounds and let's start over.
You may convince me. I still think, 365 and 70% is nothing to sneeze at. I mean,
of course not. But when you're throwing the ball, 50 something times or whatever it was.
True. I will say, that you need the football smarts. You need to work on that aspect of your game where in the moment you can think to yourself, it's better if I dive forward for a 3-yard loss than it is for me to spin around in a circle 3 times, make myself so dizzy I don't know which direction is up, and then get sacked for a 12-yard loss.
Exactly.
Like, stop doing that.
Yeah. And it works 1 out of every 8 times. And that one time you're like, oh, hey, he does have wheels. Hey, he is a little shifty. And then you're like, oh, nope, just kidding.
So to quickly get through the rest, Steve had the pass rush as his Jock Strap, which, we talked about before. Jordan Love, an amazingly quick release. He's got to be in the top 5. I know 2 is number 1, but he's got to be up there. And then your guy hasn't changed probably since like week 6.
Nope. Jordan Poyer. Always going to be Jordan Poyer until he's off this team. Honestly, because they're, in my opinion, and I think everyone on this show knows, the viewers, you, True Fin fans, my wife, my best friends, everyone knows I hate Jordan Poyer, right? But I don't think there has been a worse player on this team. Maybe Skylar Thompson. And if I'm comparing those two,
Duke Riley, if he were actually playing, right?
yeah, honestly, I'm going to be honest with you, Anthony. I would take Duke Riley over Jordan Poyer at his position. Put Duke Riley back at safety because he's a better. Jordan Poyer is horrible.
He's hard. Yeah.
I mean, now I read an article that because you and I and Keith and we all have these conversations in our group chat on our phones that our listeners aren't privy to, but I always ask, I think you've asked it a couple of times, why is Poyer starting? Why is he, what does he have dirt on the coaching staff? What's going on here? And I read an article just today. It was a long article on, forgot what website it was Miami Dolphin beat writer or something. And he said, the reason Jordan Poyer is starting is because the coaches, he calls the plays on the defense and he helps get everyone aligned. And that's where he excels. It's everything else that he's bad at. And to me,
may as well just put Anthony Weaver out there then.
I mean, probably, yeah. I mean, to me, that's not a good enough reason, right? Because, okay, so he gets you aligned, great, but he's such a liability in coverage. He's such a liability in the run game. He is late with his decision-making. He can't make a tackle to save his life. He gets up and throws his hands up and looks at everyone else when he misses a tackle. And he crapped all over the team in the preseason. And I'm sorry, like call me a guy that holds a grudge, which I'm not, but I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all.
Are we pretending too like Holland or Brooks couldn't handle that? I mean,
well, fair, right? I mean, I don't like the way Holland's playing either. Spoiler alert.
Yeah,
I don't think we should resign him.
I think we'll talk about him in a long-term outlook section that we have to get to, I believe. Listen, I went with Malik Washington for my jock strap. You cannot muff that punt when the defense gets a 3-and-out against an offense that is better than you. You cannot give them the ball right back, and then the defense still almost stopped them.
Yeah, which is
still
wild.
Forced them to 3rd and goal before they ran the ball in. Like, I don't care. I don't even remember anything else he did in that game with Josh. I'm being completely honest with you. If he made another flub, I didn't remember it because all I saw was red for Malik Washington after that play.
No, he muffed the first one and lost it, and then he muffed the second one, but I think we got it back. I'm pretty sure. But, this was a typical rookie and too big of a moment type game.
Yeah.
Right. And I understand the coaching staff wants, he gives us the best opportunity to return with his speed. He's a very good blocker as the 3rd wide receiver. I mean, if you look at this game, I think he almost doubled snaps of OBJ as wide receiver 3 because he's a very good blocker. I get it. But man,
in a game like this, bro, give me Tyreek back there.
You can't do it. Yes. Yeah. I mean, Tyreek's not doing anything else. Might as well.
Right. I mean, and they last year when we were in the playoffs, who was returning punts?
Yep.
It was Tyreek. Like, you put your best guy on the field in a game like this. So nothing against Malik. I think Malik has had
he's had a really good season
for like a 7th round pick. It's not bad.
Who I'd like to see return him is like Jalen Wright or Echan or someone. You know what I mean?
Sure. Get Jeff Wilson out there. He ain't doing anything.
There you go. Is he even still on the team?
I have no idea. Actually, they asked him about that today. They asked McDaniel if he was, since our yards per carry was so low. Thank you, True fan. If he would consider like putting Mostert or Wilson out there more. I'm sitting there thinking to myself, this is a beat writer who has not watched this team or something, or is like what is happening right now?
New to the job.
Right. Like, why would Achane is quite all right, my guy. He is doing just fine.
He really is.